Hello and welcome to the Gaggle Wobble Challenge, and if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Samuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, there seems to be an extraordinary war fever that's gripping Europe at the moment, and it seems to be continent-wide because we're used to the Baltic Chihuahuas yapping their mouths off, and then usual nonsense from Poland. But the hysteria has kind of moved westward. And among the leaders of this new war fever is the little state of Denmark. And most people know very little about Denmark. They know about Hamlet, but they also associate Hamlet with insanity. He did go a little crazy, but nonetheless, as Denmark is now in this leading this war further with its really incredibly almost cretinous woman who runs it, Mette Frederiksen. Um, and this most recent war fervor came about because there were some drone sightings. Nothing more than that, drone sightings in Denmark. These drones were not shot down. They were there and then they disappeared.
They were
Uh,
droning. They were
exactly,
droning.
droning. So it's like that and this apparent appearance of drones. And so when something is there and then it disappears, you have to then ask questions whether did anyone really actually see anything.
Yep. Well, and of
This
course, every drone is a Russian drone, right?
exactly. She, Frederickson, declared that, well, as likely as not, they emanated from Russia. And now we had the other day Emmanuel Macron, the French Navy, which seized an oil tanker. It's part of the so-called Russian shadow fleet. And there were the newspaper stories suggesting that these drones were actually launched from these vessels. So no evidence for anything, but nonetheless, we're going around now seizing ships in international waters, all on the suspicion that this is all part of Putin's nefarious plan.
Where are the drones? Show us where the drones
Where
are.
exactly shows the drone.
We
Now,
got no
speaking,
drones. We don't have drones.
yeah, we
We're,
don't know. Yes. Now, the strange thing is that, because the media just, repeat all this stuff without the slightest, intellectual curiosity, that it's all kind of reminiscent. Let me think now, this drone thing, didn't we go through something similar in the United States a little less than a year ago? And yes, indeed, we did. Remember in New Jersey, we
New
had the New
Jersey.
Jersey drone hysteria.
I think there's a large Danish minority there, but that could be.
Maybe. So here's CNN back from that wonderful era. You see, this is from December the 13th, 2024. It says mysterious drone sightings in New Jersey prompt security concerns. And then here is this is an NJ Today News. Says mystery drone sightings prompt hysteria in New Jersey. Yeah, I remember the hysteria. Everyone was now seeing drones day and night. But at the time, no one really said this was Russia. Russia sent these drones over. Here's Reason magazine. Newly released documents show what the feds knew about the New Jersey drone scare. Even after the Biden administration realized the most alarming claims were bunk, it didn't publicize the evidence it had. There's a Guardian. New Jersey governor urges state to calm down as FBI looks into drone mystery. Authorities also concerned people could be firing weapons at manned aircraft, leading to lasers hitting pilots' eyes.
Well, this makes me think that the Danish prime minister, she might come out with a shotgun and just start shooting. Okay. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay.
Got it. Um, and then here we have also The Guardian, many New Jersey drones are manned aircraft being flown lawfully, White House says. National security spokesman said there's no evidence that reported drone sightings pose a public safety threat.
Well,
So,
I don't know if you lived in the US, but in the 1970s, there was all that UFO stuff,
yeah, yeah, the
remember?
UFO stuff. Yeah, I
People were
wasn't
just,
there
it
in the
was a
70s. Yeah,
mass
that's
hysteria.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was all over the tabloids, and that's when Steven Spielberg came out with his, what was first encounter.
Was that his first encounters? Was that Stephen Lucas? Wasn't it
Maybe
George
that
Lucas?
was a Lucas.
Yeah, George Lucas.
Yeah, okay. Lucas, I think, fine. Close Encounters of
Of the
a
third, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Yeah, I think that was George Lucas. Yeah. Um,
But
yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons why that film was so popular is because the hysteria
Yes, that's
was
right.
all over the
That's
place.
right. That's right. However, boom! Here is the massive Frederickson. Danish PM calls for strong answer from EU leaders to Russia's hybrid threats. Now,
Because
hybrid attacks.
because Denmark can't respond.
Whenever,
This is part of this narrative is that somebody else has to do this. Okay,
yes,
they're all pointing. Oh, and ultimately the thing Trump has to do
that
something
Trump
about
has
it.
to do
It's
something.
always that.
That's right, exactly. Um, but I always love this word hybrid. So hybrid usually means you put together a whole bunch of things that have no connection with anything else, and you say, yeah, it was all Russia. So, cyber, something, electricity grid broke down, Russia. A car crashed into a building, Russia. A drone sighting, Russia.
An
Uh,
apple orchard burned down.
exactly, apple orchard burned down. Clearly, this is Russia.
Clearly,
Something,
it's a hybrid.
yeah, a fire in a in a shopping mall after hours, Russia. And so that's what. Oh, it's hybrid. So you just put it as long as you use the word hybrid, then you say, yeah, this is all part of Russia's
Yeah,
hybrid.
hybrid is a good answer to you're running your societies are becoming completely dysfunctional.
Yes,
Okay, so you have to blame someone else. Okay, your infrastructure is grinding down to dust.
right.
Blame someone else for it. Okay, that's what it gets down to. It's what I look at it is overall, I just see it elite incompetence. That's what I see.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think they want to they are engaged in war fever. I mean, this is what they want
All
to.
right, you said they. Let's unpack
Mhm.
they. This
Okay.
is elite
Yeah.
hysteria.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
This has nothing. All right, everybody, over the last 3 years, how many protests were there in major cities for Ukraine? George, you probably know the answer to that.
I don't remember seeing too many. Don't remember them too much.
I
Not.
was hoping you would remember because I
Yeah.
can't
No.
remember.
I mean, exactly. When you compare all of the protests over Gaza and Ukraine, there's nothing. I mean, here, there you're getting mass demonstrations throughout Europe. I mean, throughout in just about every country in Europe. But in the case of Russia and Ukraine, I haven't seen anything. None whatsoever. So you're absolutely right. It is an elite thing, but they want to do it. They want to whip up this war fever, and they want to use it in order to centralize power and give themselves
Exactly.
more power over ordinary people and the ability to ban things. They love banning things.
It's two things. What Brussels wants desperately is to be able to directly tax European citizens,
Mhm.
directly, not through the member states. They want to go straight for the money. They want to empty your pockets first before the national governments can do it. Okay. It's like in California, they have like the sales tax, state tax, they have all these taxes. And the state of California always gets paid first.
Yes.
Okay. They get their amount. Okay.
Yep.
This is what von der Leyen wants to do. She wants to be able to directly tax and to go into debt
Yep.
and make the member states pay for it. And then George hit the second one, ban anything you don't like.
Yep. Yep.
It's the two prong.
That's the two pronged. And here we've seen how Moldova and Romania have blazed a trail for the rest of Europe, which is, You could just simply ban things. You imprison people, and all you have to do is say Russia. Oh, Russia. Oh, we can ban a political party. Hey, we have to close down this newspaper. We have to close down all these websites.
We
Why?
have to put
Oh,
this guy
because of
under
Russia.
house arrest. We have to put this guy under house arrest.
Exactly, exactly. They're trying to do something like this now in the Czech Republic because they're worried that some guy they think is not going to play ball with NATO. I think that Babiš might be elected. Already they're doing Russia is interfering in massive way in the elections in the Czech Republic. Boom, that's it. That's where it's so easy. The media, that they're not going to call anything into question. They're not going to express any skepticism. They're going to just simply say, yeah, yeah, this is the biggest interference yet by Russia. That's why. And so this Mette Frederiksen, as I say, she's a total cretin. I mean, compared to her, I think Kaya Kallas is a kind of an intellectual. I mean, I think that's
God, oh my God.
said.
You heard it here first,
That's
everyone.
right. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen told reporters that, quote, from a European perspective, there is only one country willing to threaten us, and that is Russia. And therefore, we need a very strong answer back. It was kind of like what? I mean, you're going to send in
Well,
your
I mean, we should not be surprised because I don't know what they call it, George, because they have so many meetings. It's like the biannual informal EU
yeah.
summit
They
or
had the EU that just had a big one in Copenhagen, the European
yeah,
political
that's it. That's it.
community.
But she's trying to get in front of the parade,
Right.
and this is all it's all one-upsmanship. Macron, he's had his say for the last few weeks. I'm gonna get involved in this because Denmark, of course, is an integral part of the European Union. Blah
Yeah,
blah blah,
that's
and
right.
NATO, of course. Okay.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Because if you look at the class photo, I was going to show that, but I forgot the class photo of all the people who showed up at the European Political Community meeting. She is absolutely front and center. She even stands a little bit in front of everyone else, so that everyone is actually behind her, as if she is the leader. And there behind there is Macron and all the rest. So absolutely, she started. It's just because Denmark is the host, but nonetheless, she has to put
That's
herself
right.
forward as I'm the leader here. Um, and so anyway, it goes on. A number of member states have already backed plans for a multi-layered drone wall to quickly detect, then track and destroy Russian drones. So this is one of these ideas that are floating around. And then they suddenly realize, the bill is something astronomical. And, well, maybe we can do something a little less, a little more limited because that's, a drone wall, that's quite a packet. But yeah, that we,
Yeah, but George, this all goes back. Is that we go back to at the end of 2021 and the start of 2022, Russia is not going to object. They will cave. They will agree. Blinken or Biden made it clear that certain missiles would not be deployed in Eastern Europe and
right,
Ukraine,
right,
and then Blinken came around. Oh no, 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 we didn't sign up for that. I mean,
right,
the building of the pressure because the Russians they
right,
wouldn't dare.
right,
Well, their bluff was called. Okay, you're right. A multi-layered. You know, th First of all, this is very high tech. I don't think anyone is actually doing outside Russia defending itself.
right.
But I mean, to get all of these member countries in coordination to do it, do you think Donald Trump wants to pick up the bill for that?
No, I don't
No.
think he's not going to do
I mean,
that.
this is just all hot air.
Right,
Okay. They don't have the infrastructure to
right,
do it. They don't have the command and control to do it.
right,
Who's going to run it?
right. That's right.
Denmark?
That's right. Exactly. And so Frederickson told the news conference, we meet at a time when Russia have intensified their attacks in Ukraine, where we have seen Russian airspace violations and unwanted drone activities in several European countries. They are threatening us and they are testing us, and they will not stop. So, them's fighting words
Yeah,
from
but there's been no evidence to
none,
support anything that she said.
none,
There's none.
none.
Everyone, if there was evidence to back up her claim, it would be wall-to-wall coverage.
That's right.
But there
Exactly.
isn't wall-to-wall coverage because there is no evidence for it.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Um, she said the next steps would include stepping up military and financial support for Ukraine, rearming European countries, and strengthening the production of drones and anti-drone technology. We
Wow,
must
that's original. Wow.
exactly. Wow, no one's ever thought of that
No
before.
one's ever thought of those things.
And then Ursula von der Leyen said, "We must provide the strongest of deterrence at scale and at speed." Denmark
Okay.
beefed up security for the summit, banning all civilian drone flights until Friday and placing heavy restrictions on traffic in Copenhagen. But again, no
Oh,
one.
there, here we go. Oh, there we go, George. That's second prong. Banning.
That's
Ban.
it,
Ban,
exactly.
ban, ban,
Bang.
ban.
That's it. Absolutely. That's their go-to. I mean, Ursula von der Leyen, with we must go beyond debunking towards pre-bunking. That's like they want to do pre-bunking. They want to just ban as much as they can. And Danish police have not found any evidence that Russia was behind last week's drone disruption.
Oh, yeah, this paragraph is below the fold.
Exactly, way down. But Fredrickson linked it explicitly to other hybrid attacks, such as Russia's drone incursion over Poland, which also has not been proven. We simply don't know where exactly those drones came from.
Again, if were evidence of that, it would be all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. It was part of a pattern that had to be viewed from a European perspective, she told reporters on Wednesday. The war in Ukraine is very serious. When I look at Europe today, I think we are in the most difficult and dangerous situation since the end of the Second World War. Not the Cold War anymore. We're going beyond the Cold War. Now, what's interesting, I mean, if she was even halfway serious about that, then there's a very easy remedy for this, and that is how about just bringing then this war to an end? I mean, if we're in such a dangerous situation, we're really the most dangerous situation since 1945. All right, well, you've persuaded me. Then bring it to an end before it gets any worse. But no, no,
Well,
no. It's the most dangerous situation in 1945, and therefore we must escalate.
there was an institution that had some gravitas at one time. It's been completely discredited, but that institution is the OSCE. Maybe there should be a pan-European drone convention, and everybody's got to sit down and hash it out. I'm serious.
Well,
Okay, if you're so afraid of these drones,
right.
okay, fine. But there isn't any convention on it, and there's no interest in it because it's used as a cudgel, not as a way, hey, wow, it's gone too far. We gotta stop, we gotta slow down. Everybody take a breath. No, they do the
Right.
opposite. They
Well,
hyperventilate.
that's right. But I also I'm always under the impression that drones are not they're not difficult to get your hands on. I mean, almost anyone can get their hands on a drone and
Hey, I don't
make
know,
use
I
of
don't know
it.
how it is in Hungary, but I can order one from China right now.
I would have thought. I
Right
would have
now.
thought. I mean,
Right now.
even that guy, the assassin of President Trump, he used a drone in order to surveil the scene in Butler, Pennsylvania. I mean, he managed to get one. He's whatever he was 22 years old. He managed to get his hands on a drone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here
Um,
we go. There you go. Here we go.
mhm.
Here we go. I just did it.
Yeah.
An online, like Russia's answer to Amazon. It's called Wildberries. I just typed in, as George was speaking, I just typed in drone in English.
Right.
Okay. It's a
Right.
Russian site, but I typed it in English. There you go. Drones, everybody. You want to buy one? You can't see it. See here. Let's. Oh, oh. Oh, how many people? Oh, that's a beauty. That's a silver one there. Okay. Oh, that one looks like Star Wars. I don't know how well you can see it here. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, ubiquitous, George.
Ubiquitous. Yeah, that's right. And so Sweden has loaned powerful radar systems to its neighbor for the week. And Ukraine's Zelensky said Kiev was sending a mission to Denmark for joint exercises to provide Ukrainian experience in drone defense. So now suddenly Sweden and Ukraine are running to Denmark's rescue. And then German,
It's exciting, isn't it? It's
it
so
really is.
exciting.
Yes, I mean, here is this person, this, as I say, this cretin, this the Danish prime minister. Hey, she's suddenly the center of attention. The media are writing about her.
Yeah, and her PR people say, hey, this is a way for you to get in the news.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Keep it
exactly,
up. Keep it
exactly.
up.
She's probably all this time she's been annoyed that the media write about Annalena Baerbock.
That's
Or,
right. And people in Denmark don't even recognize her.
Exactly. They used to write about the Finn chick. They write about Kaya Kalas, but no one ever
And
writes
Maya
about her.
Sandu, she's
And
that
Maya
bitch.
Sandu, exactly. Yeah. Hey, now I'm the center of attention. I'm the story. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said ahead of the summit that airspace incursions were getting worse and that it was reasonable to assume the drones are coming from Russia. Now, he didn't really explain why is it reasonable to assume the drones are coming from Russia. He says,
That's why we need to reintroduce the Luftwaffe.
that's right. One should say, incidentally, because he himself pointed this out in a tweet today, that today, October the 3rd, is the 35th anniversary of the reunification of Germany. And we should say, what was it that Chancellor Helmut Kohl promised on October the 3rd, 1990?
And George has committed it to memory. Go.
Committed it to memory. Henceforth, only peace will emanate from German soil. That went into the waste paper basket within months when Germany intervened in Yugoslavia. Within months. And things haven't got any better since.
And
But
it
the
wasn't the first time that Germany intervened in
in
Yugoslavia in the
Yugoslav, not
20th
definitely not
century.
the first time. Definitely not the first time. And the whole idea that he should bring this up, the reunification, today, given what Germany is involved in. I mean, it doesn't even make any pretense that only peace is emanating from German soil. I mean, the only difference is that today Germany has its allies. It's not just doing this by itself. It's not it's oh we're part of a coalition, but Germany is among the most belligerent in this coalition.
Well, the first time they invaded Yugoslavia, they had a coalition too,
They had a
George.
coalition as well, yeah, yeah. Anyway, drones have been seen in recent days over Germany's northern state of Schleswig-Holstein.
Did you underline that?
No,
Or is
no,
that
no. That's from the in the
okay?
that's only the story.
Just to make sure you didn't. Well, see, what a lot of people do is they might skim through an article, but if they see something underlined, then they read it. Okay, so
No,
just in case you missed the point of this article,
no,
everyone,
that's
drones
just
have been
basic. Yeah.
seen in recent days.
No, that's the link. The link about
Okay,
the drones have been seen in recent days over Germany's northern state of Schleswig-Holstein, and of course we remember that was the war over Schleswig-Holstein in 1862 between Prussia and Denmark.
that's
Uh,
how it went to Germany. Yes.
exactly, which and Schleswig-Holstein became part of Germany. Um, and flights have been delayed in the past week at Vilnius Airport in Lithuania and at Oslo Airport in Norway because of drone activity.
Oh, so but there's no mention of cyber attacks against Western European airports. Okay, did the Russians do that, and
Yes,
if they, or maybe these are the same problems that hackers are doing it, but
that's right.
they don't want to look that far. They don't want to look.
No,
They don't want to do anything forensic, serious. No,
no,
they don't want. No, this adds to our hysteria. Let's keep it going.
that's right. That's right. And then Merz told an event in Dusseldorf this week, "We are not at war, but we are no longer at peace either." We must do much more for our own security.
Yeah, well, see, isn't it really interesting? It's something you and I have touched upon for years now. Um, this is all about transforming the order in Europe itself. It's not. We don't have anything. Merz, maybe he did, but it wasn't reported here. This is not about Ukraine. This is about transforming Europe and it's into a super state. Just
Mhm.
like I said,
Correct.
Brussels wants to be able to tax and go into debt for the entire bloc, not the individual members, and they want to be able to censor and algorithm out
Yep.
of existence anyone that
Right.
disagrees with. This
Yep.
has nothing to do with Ukraine.
No, 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 no. I mean, if they certainly want to remove once and for all Russian influence in Europe. That's why it still infuriates them that Serbia somehow exists. And that Republika Srpska in Bosnia and Herzegovina exists. They think these are the last lingering
And that's why they want to get
remnants of
rid of
influence of Russia in Europe.
Orban's days, maybe not.
Orban, exactly. Yeah. And that's why they definitely want him out. So
Well, I
that's
mean, George, considering with Romania and Moldova and what they attempted in Georgia, I think it's a near certainty there'll be machinations to make sure that Orban
yeah,
doesn't.
absolutely. They
I mean,
getting
it's
absolutely
almost
they're getting ready for the next.
a near certainty now.
Yeah, exactly. They're moving in a big way. Now, it's a little more difficult because Orban is very shrewd. He's been around for many years. And therefore he's quite aware of what these machinations are about. But they're going to go in a big way. So it's I don't know. As I see it, it's 50-50 whether he'll prevail next year. Um, we have to keep our skies safe, says Mark Rutte. He always says this, our skies. I say these are our skies. They're different from somebody else. The sky somehow is different. Somebody else's sky. Our skies.
If Russia's skies are safe, ours are unsafe.
Exactly.
These ridiculous binaries they
That's
like to
right. Our
play.
skies. That's right. But yeah, but we don't care about Russia's skies, or anybody else's skies. It's our skies. The idea of a drone war was raised a month ago by von der Leyen, and Rutte says it was timely and necessary because, in the end, we cannot spend millions of euros or dollars on missiles to take out drones which are only costing a couple of $1,000s. So that's just so this
Wow.
their thing. They're gonna.
Wow, that guy, he's a smart guy, isn't he, George? That's really wow. No one's thought about that. Why do you think drone warfare came into being in the first place? Okay.
Exactly, exactly. Um, and now this is the problem with the story about the Russians. Here is Bild. It says three Germans arrested after drone incident. This is near Norway airport. Well, let's talk about Norway, the attacks on Norway. And it says here, Europe is plagued by drones. New drone sightings are constantly occurring near vital infrastructure. Three Germans have now been arrested in Norway. The three men are alleged to have launched a drone in the prohibited 5 kilometer zone around Rochefort Airport on Tuesday. Norwegian media reported this on Thursday. The three men, all in their early 20s, were released shortly after their arrest, it was reported. Investigators have not yet provided any further details about the Germans, nor what type of drone they were using. But where's Russia? I don't understand the story. I mean, these are Germans. This is Norway. Where's Russia?
Yeah, but I'm sure there was a lot of beer involved.
That's right.
Okay.
They were acting on the orders of Putin
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah, but this is, just probably a gag. Okay. And
Exactly.
they got caught. Okay.
That's right. Their early 20s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
that's
mean.
kind of what people in their early
Yeah,
20s
that's right. Let's see if we can do it. Yeah, let's try, Hans. Okay. Get you, pass me a beer. Okay, my turn. Okay.
comes. The Germans weren't the only ones to have a run-in with the Norwegian police. A Chinese citizen was even deported from the country. He also had to pay a fine of 12,000 kroner, the equivalent of around €1,000. The reason? He was allegedly flying his drone at Svolvær Airport. The police confirmed this in a press release. So he had to pay a
Maybe it was like, what? You can't do that here? Okay.
That's 1,000 euros. Police in Nordland County are currently investigating several reports of drones near airports, military facilities, and other critical infrastructure. Officials had previously reported possible sightings at Brønnøysund Airport. Whether drones were actually operating there remains unclear. But I'm still waiting for the punchline. Where's the Kremlin in all of this? And here, the same story. Meanwhile, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson suspects Russia is behind the recent drone incidents at Scandinavian airports. The probability is, quote, quite high that Russia wants to send a message to countries that support Ukraine.
And what is that message?
I don't. That's a very good question. I still don't understand what that message is.
What is the message?
What's the message? I don't know. What I don't. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what. Yeah. I mean, they never explain this, and it doesn't even make any sense. He emphasized, however, that it has not been definitively determined who is responsible for the incident. In which case, why are you shooting your mouth off?
That's right.
I mean,
definitely, okay, it has not been definitely determined who is responsible for the incidents, but a message was being sent.
Yeah,
Okay.
you get a headache from this.
Yeah,
None of this makes any sense.
It's like pretzel brain.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're sending a message. What's the message? But we don't actually know who was behind these incidents.
But a message was being
But a
sent.
message was being sent. Yeah. And then here's Merz about this no longer at peace, and as he put it in his charming German way, let me put it in a sentence that may be a little shocking at first glance. We are not at war, but we are no longer at peace either. And Russia's war is a war against our democracy and a war against our freedom, Merz said, adding that Moscow's intention was to undermine unity in the bloc.
We could finish off this paragraph by saying, meanwhile, the Reichschancellor is continuing to work to disband the AfD.
That's right, exactly. The more Merz continues in.
Yeah, the more this guy talks, the more he really hurts himself, you know.
Yeah, you kind of realize now why it was that way back when, more than 20 years ago, he was pipped at the post by Angela Merkel. He was destined to be the leader of the CDU, and instead the CDU went for this, essentially unknown figure of Angela Merkel. They already knew then, all the way, I don't know, 22, 23,
Yeah, but I mean,
that Merz was an idiot.
I'm prone to intense sarcasm here, but to be honest, George, when I see him, I get images from the 1930s and 40s. I'm sorry.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And now this is what happened was that the French seized this oil tanker. This is part of the whole shadow fleet. They've been talking about this shadow fleet.
For everybody, okay, Russia has been denied access to international organizations that provide insurance for seabound cargo.
Right.
So what the Russian state has done is it gives insurance directly from the state or a state organ. Okay, so it is not allowed to participate in this international organization. So Russia's doing the right thing and saying we can't let ships just floating around without insurance because there's liability here. They pay for it themselves. Okay,
Right.
but because Russia has been barred from it, you are part of a shadow fleet. I mean, this is circular reasoning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, okay. Russia has been barred. Okay, we've taken
Right.
on our own obligation to do it. So there's no such thing as a shadow fleet.
Right. That exactly. But the thing is also that, oh well, Russia's under sanction. They're going to transporting oil, but those sanctions have no international validity. You
No
can't
standing.
enforce sanctions that have no international validity.
It has no standing at
No
all.
standing. I mean, so therefore, try to use force to enforce these sanctions, that's a warlike act.
That's piracy at the very least.
Exactly. Now, but these tankers, they are not flying the Russian flag. I mean, these are not Russian ships. You know, they not even they're not manned. The crew is not Russian, and they're usually registered somewhere else. So this is this whole
But
shadow
most
fleet.
ships are. Do you think Panama is the great merchant
Right.
cargo fleet of the world? No, they're under the flag of Panama.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
almost a tradition. It is a tradition.
Right. Right. So it says French soldiers have boarded an oil tanker believed to be part of Russia's shadow fleet, used to evade sanctions imposed because of the war in Ukraine. The Boracay left Russia last month and was off the coast of Denmark when unidentified drones forced the temporary closure of several airports last week. It has been anchored off Western France for a few days. Now, notice what the BBC has done here. This is in the opening paragraph. And so here we have this French soldiers board the oil tanker, and then they slip in this piece of information about the coast, these drones off the coast of Denmark, with these drone incursions supposedly last month, and this ship was in the vicinity. Therefore, you put two and two together, the drones must have departed from this tanker. What I mean, this is the BBC just simply putting two and two together and getting 222.
Well, and they don't even get any kind of attribution,
Right.
like according to
Yes.
um, uh, uh, um, a unnamed
Right.
official told us.
Right.
Or I mean, this is the BBC all by
Yep.
themselves.
All by themselves.
Oh, 1+1 equals Russia did it.
That's right. French President Emmanuel Macron said at an EU leaders summit in Copenhagen that the crew had committed, quote, serious offenses, unquote, but did not elaborate.
Well,
Uh,
no wonder he didn't elaborate.
right, you know,
I mean, from what we know in these three paragraphs, is that it was the French authorities that committed an act of piracy.
yeah, that's right. Um, then he says Macron refused to be drawn on the question of whether the ship may have been used as a platform for the drone flights that caused such disruption in Denmark last week. He refused to be drawn. So why the media reporting that somehow the drones?
Well, if you're not going to be drawn into it, then why did you say what you said?
Yes,
I mean, you opened up that can of
exactly.
worms.
That's right. Prosecutors in Brest have opened an investigation on two counts: refusing an order to stop and failing to justify the nationality of the ship's flag.
That's
First of all,
you know.
I don't know on what basis it's supposed to
Yeah,
stop.
what basis is that?
Yeah.
They were in international waters. Were they in
Yes.
international waters?
Yeah, that's the thing. Justify the nationality. What does it mean, justify the nationality?
Was there a apparent risk determined to
No,
stop a
I,
ship?
I haven't read anywhere.
Was it on fire? Was
No,
it
no,
sending an SOS?
right.
I mean, what was the predicate?
Yeah, that's right. Many countries are waiting to impose blah blah, and then the sanctions, shadow fleet, and then so anyway, it continues. There's 600 and 1,000 ships, the shadow fleet, and then the Boracay, also known as Pushka Kivale, is a Benin flagged vessel, but has been listed under UK and EU sanctions against Russia. It was detained by Estonian authorities earlier this year for sailing without a valid country flag. And then it had set off from the Russian port of Primorsk outside of St. Petersburg on 20th of September, sailed through the Baltic Sea and past Denmark before entering the North Sea and carrying on through the English Channel. All of it is in international waters. And Copenhagen Airport, followed by several Danish airports and military sites on the Jutland Peninsula, faced drone disruption last week. And then we have the usual stuff.
Well, maybe there were a few Germans and a Chinese guy involved.
Danish authorities have not found any evidence that Russia was behind last week's drone disruption. But Frederiksen linked it explicitly to other so-called hybrid attacks. And then it was a part of a pattern that had to be viewed from a European perspective. What's a European perspective?
I was hoping you would explain that. I mean, these people, they're just intellectually illiterate, George.
That's right. And then we have the incursions that become most acute for countries in the EU's eastern flank, such as Poland and Estonia. And then you have that's all. And then Francis Macron says detention of shadow tankers signals new plan to pressure Russia.
No, it's not new,
It's not
everyone.
new at all. Um, But Macron continues with his practice of, saying something on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which is different from what he says on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and then he takes Sunday off. So he also says, one day he says we are at war with Russia, and then he says, "Hey, cool it, everybody. No, there's no need to do anything provocative. It just depends on what day of the week. But his pronouncements are just completely all over the place. So now this is, we're here, we're in the business of putting pressure on Russia.
Well, one reason for all of this, probably the most obvious one, Macron is talking about these things because he doesn't want to talk about what's going on in his own
In
country.
his own country, yeah.
As France is probably behind the scenes negotiating a bailout from the IMF.
Yes, yes. France's detention of a tanker suspected of operating for Russia's shadow fleet is part of a new European strategy to block revenue funding Moscow's war effort in Ukraine. So that's it.
Yeah,
But
and Reuters, they have vast resources. Okay, so block revenue funding, block revenue funding Moscow's war effort in Ukraine. What percentage is this so-called shadow fleet adding to that
yes,
revenue funding?
yeah,
What percentage is it?
yeah,
Is it 80%?
yeah.
Is it 8%?
Right, right,
Is it
right,
0.8%? Is
right.
it 0.08%? See, this is why this is all propaganda nonsense. What difference does the shadow fleet play? What is their relative weight to all of it? You're never told
No, no. You're
anymore.
absolutely
You're
right.
never
And
told what that
no,
is.
and what's also striking is that if you pursue this policy, you're not lowering the price of oil. I mean, if the goal is, oh, we have to lower
Oh,
the
no,
oil.
you're not.
I mean, that's
You're
the
not
plan.
lowering
Try
it.
to lower the price of oil so to curtail Russia's revenues. No, no, you do things like this. You raise the price of oil. I mean, that adds to Russia's revenues. It says Macron added that it was yet to be determined whether the vessel had been involved in drone incursions in Denmark last week. Macron, speaking at an EU event in Copenhagen, said he could not rule out a connection between the vessel and the drone incursions, but so far lacked proof. You could not rule it out. Well, that's good. You can't rule it out, but you can't rule it in. I mean,
Move it in.
that's what's important. You're
Who
sure.
knows? It could have been a solar flare. Who knows
Yeah,
what it was?
exactly. That's the point. That's what what is so awful and appalling about these European leaders. They talk in this reckless way, whipping up this hysteria, and then they say, "Well, we don't have any real proof of this." Yeah, well, if you don't have any proof, then don't do it. Don't shoot your mouth off and start talking about how we're under attack from Russia.
George, looking at the entire conflict since the advent of the special military operation, what proof has any of these people ever definitively presented us of Russian malfeasance?
Right.
We don't have the time to go through all of the different narrative shifts, but one thing they have in common. Never any evidence
No,
of anything. I
no.
mean, you people you're real
Right,
slobs,
right,
okay?
right,
And
right. No,
also, what this does, as George and I commented at the beginning, is that this is an elite narrative.
right.
And you really think it's going to work on the general population going through, Russia did this, but we have no evidence. Russia's doing this, we have no. I mean, how much currency does such an approach have? I mean, what kind of impact do you think it has? I think most people would think these people are nuts.
I think so. I mean, the media, of course, are playing along with it, and
Oh, of
because they're
course.
part of that whole little narrow circle of politicians, policymakers, think tanks, and and the media hangers on, but they're talking among themselves. There's no evidence whatsoever that among the public, any of this is having any resonance. And the proof of it is, well, how come these politicians, how come warmongering politicians are not doing better in the polls? In every election, it's always the anti-war politicians who are doing well. I mean, Macron is just underwater. I mean, he's so unpopular. Keir Starmer, a joke in terms
Even
of
more unpopular.
even
If
more unpopular, just absolutely, and of course Schmerz in Germany, terrible unpopularity. CDU is behind the AfD, so that's the evidence that this is they're whipping up this hysteria. Oh, we got to spend so much more on our military, because Russia is threatening us. It's clearly not working. The public remains unpersuaded. So what do you? Well, therefore, we need to crack down on disinformation. If our message isn't working, that means it's Russian disinformation. Russian
there you
disinformation
go.
is
Write that down on a post-it and put it in your wallet because
that's
that's
right.
exactly right.
Um, and so there's the tanker raid is part of a plan to take tougher action to limit Russia's oil sales and press for an end to the war in Ukraine. And never
Again,
explain how does that work?
what percentage of Russia's oil sales contribute to Russia's military efforts in Ukraine?
Right,
It's a question that they will never ever want to
right,
answer.
right,
Okay, you probably could do it. The modeling is out there. Okay, but because they're just pulling, they're talking out of their sleeve, trying to keep it clean here. They're just
right,
talking out of their sleeve. Okay.
right, right. That's right. Um, and he said, yeah, we want to increase pressure on Russia to convince it to return to the negotiating
What
table.
the, did you go again?
What is so funny about this is that all this time the Europeans had no interest whatever in negotiations. It's only since Trump came into office that suddenly they now
Yeah,
pretend
yeah,
that they want
right.
negotiations. Oh,
Yeah,
we're at the
because they want to
negotiating
get
table.
ahead of Trump and to determine what negotiations, quote
That's
unquote,
right.
actually mean.
That's
That's
right. Yeah. We have now decided to take a step further by moving towards a policy of obstruction when we have suspicious ships in our waters that are involved in this trafficking. But this is what they say, this our waters. Now, I mean, as far as I can tell, these are all international waters. I mean, what does that mean, our waters? I mean, unless they really do believe the Baltic Sea, the North Sea just sort of belong to you. I mean, it just belongs to us. It's ours. Even though, according to international law, they don't. They're international waters, beyond a certain distance from a nation's coast.
well, we have now decided to take a further step by moving towards a policy of obstruction, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, what does that tell you, everyone? Is that everything they've done hasn't had an impact at
Yeah.
all.
Right.
Okay. There is an impact on
Right.
themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always find it funny. We're on the 19th package. Well, I guess the
19th, which means they're working on
18th
the
one
20th.
just didn't do it. Oh, they're on the 20th now.
That's right.
Okay.
They're working on the
I
20th.
guess the 19th just wasn't
That's right. But the 20th is sure to be successful.
of course.
And then so the prosecutor's office in the French port of Brest is handling an investigation into the vessel after its crew provided what French authorities described as inconsistent information about its nationality.
Well, again, when people sign up on these things, I don't think they really care, George.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Who owns this ship? I don't know. What flag are you flying under? I don't know. I've been on this ship for 20 years. It changes from time to time. I don't know. I'm not paid to know that.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what happened. Yeah,
And why would they tell the crew?
that's right.
Your job is to do X, Y, and Z and one, two,
Right.
three. You
Yeah,
know the job you signed up for. You have 20 years experience. Do you care
right.
who owns the ship? Nope.
Exactly. They don't know. I mean, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Why should they know?
Yeah. The ship's captain, a Chinese national, is being prosecuted for failure to comply, and his hearing is scheduled for February the 23rd. That's quite a long time. I mean, it's now just early October. That's quite a you know that they don't, it doesn't sound like they're in any great hurry with this prosecution. And then the Borke, loaded 100,000 tons of euros oil sourced by a Russian state company, Rosneft, from the Russian port of Primorsk near Finland on September the 20th. But we don't know this. They say, according to two traders familiar with the shipping data. I mean, so do we know this? That this is, they did have 100,000 tons of euros oil? The vessel was destined for India's Vadina port, home to a refinery owned by India's Nayara Energy. And then here it says, that's today's news: Russia-linked oil tanker stopped by France resumes voyage, according to vessel trackers. The Boracay, a tanker from Russia's shadow fleet that was detained by the French Navy, resumed its journey towards the Suez Canal. Data from maritime websites showed on Friday Russian President Vladimir Putin denounced the tanker's detention as an act of piracy and alleged that Paris had initiated the move for domestic policy reasons. And then this tanker that detained by the French Navy resumed its journey towards the Suez Canal. The Boracay, this vessel, claimed to be flagged in Benin and blacklisted by the European Union for being a part of Russia's sanction-busting shadow fleet, resumed its journey Thursday evening and was off the coast of western France on Friday morning. A source close to the case said the ship's Chinese captain, who was previously set to be tried by the French court for the crew's alleged refusal to cooperate, was also back aboard the Russian-linked tanker. Well, the trial isn't, I mean, he doesn't have to appear in court till February the 23rd. I mean,
I'll be back. I'll be back.
um, and then
Well,
here's,
I'm sure this. So why are you detaining me?
I,
Um,
to be honest, it doesn't sound like they got much of a case. I mean,
Not much of a case here. Okay.
um,
This is the level of foolishness.
yes.
You don't do something like that unless you got the goods. I mean,
And they
you
obviously
don't do
didn't
it
have
unless
it.
it's a
Yeah, and even the
slam.
stories, well, inconsistent. Inconsistent in what they said. You're absolutely right. They were asked, well, who owns this ship? I said, I don't know. No one told me. I mean, it's just
That's not part of my pay grade. Okay. I'm not paid to know that. It's really awful work.
yeah,
It's boring. The conditions of the ships are not always in the greatest of shape. The the services, the food, and all that. I mean, we get people. You get people from all walks of life doing that because you're paid in cash or virtually cash. Okay, it's nothing you want to aspire to
right,
do,
right.
but it might pay off that little house that you want in Benin.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I'm sure conditions on the ship are not great. And you're going to be on that ship, aboard that ship for quite some time. It's no fun.
No, no.
Here's the captain. The Chinese nationals handed one count of refusing to follow instructions, and I'm told to attend a court hearing and so on. And
Well,
then
I mean, again, were they in French waters?
no evidence of that.
No
No
evidence.
evidence that they
What
went back.
what authority do the French have to ask
They
anyone
didn't.
any
They
questions?
didn't. But you see, when Macron says our waters, he just means we own this. We own the North Sea. We own the Baltic. We own the English Channel, and we call them our waters. But they're not our waters. They're international waters. You may claim, oh, the Baltic is a NATO lake. You can keep saying it till the cows come home, but it's still international waters.
And again, to repeat everyone, these sanctions against Russian ships or Russia related or
Right,
associated ships, because
right,
it's obviously very unclear here,
right,
it has no validity in international law. This is
right,
all made up. It's really interesting in the articles. They constantly say shadow fleet, shadow fleet. They're driving away at that.
right.
There's no such thing.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And so this is just grasping at straws because nothing else is working.
Right. That's right. It says he and the second captain, also Chinese national, had been detained since Tuesday while French authorities investigated them, blah, blah. And then they're registered in Benin. And, um, and the French prosecutor's office said the captain was unable to give a coherent answer about the flag the ship was carrying. Under international maritime law, naval forces can stop a merchant vessel at sea if they have reasonable suspicion that the vessel is without a nationality. But they don't have that suspicion. I mean, they don't know. They just said, I mean, he didn't know what the nationality was. But but there's a reasonable suspicion. I don't think they do have that. Um, and then here's
It
Donald.
sounds like naval profiling to me,
That's right. And then there's
or shipping profiling. Yeah.
That's right. So, so at this Copenhagen summit, Donald Tusk and Viktor Orban had sort of a few uncomfortable words to say to each other. And here's Tusk, who sends out this tweet. Prime Minister Viktor Orban, it is Russia who started the war against Ukraine. It is them who decided we're living in the time of war. And in such a time, the only question is, whose side are you on?
Okay, well, again, he makes a complete jackass out of himself. It is Russia who started the war against Ukraine. It was them who decided who's we? I
Who's
thought I
we?
thought the European Union had nothing to do. They're non-combatants. It's not
That's
your
right.
war.
That's
But
right.
there you go. It's in black and white. We're living
It's
in the
very
time of
interesting.
war. It's not your war, apparently. Oh, but it is your war.
This is very poorly written, but who is the we that he's referring to there?
That's
Because at first I thought the we referred to the Russians, but you may be right. The we is referring
it's
to the
again
Europeans.
it's remedial English,
Right,
everyone. Okay.
right,
We don't know what the predicate is of the
right.
sentence here. But
That's right.
it's a valid point. Who is we?
Right, right,
Irrespective of how you read the sentence.
right. Exactly. And in such a time, the only question is whose side are you on? Now, the problem about making that comment is that Viktor Orban has, a million times already answered the question. He said, "I'm on the side of Hungary." That I'm the prime minister of Hungary. I'm on the side of Hungary. I'm not on the side of Poland. I'm not on the side of the EU. I'm not on the side of Russia. I'm not on the side of Ukraine. I'm on the side of Hungary. So to continue to put this in that way, whose side are you on? I mean, what's the point? He's already answered that question. And here is Orban, who says, Dear Prime Minister Donald Tusk, Russia is at war, Ukraine is at war, Hungary is not. I understand that you stand firmly on the side of Ukraine. Please understand that we stand firmly on the side of Hungary. Your question is, who will win the Russia-Ukraine war? My question is, how can we end the war, save tens of thousands of lives, and provide security for Hungarians? You seek to win a war you believe is yours. I want to ensure that peace prevails. But you believe is yours. Well, see, so I guess he takes it, the we is referring to we, Poles, Europeans, and so on. But that means it's your war. If it's your war, then you are a combatant. You can't then turn around and say, well, hey, we're not a party to the conflict. I mean, yeah, that means you are a party to the conflict. And then Orban also sent this out. Brussels wants war to impose a common debt and seize
There you
more
go.
power. Yeah,
Yep.
that's exactly right. Stripping competences from the member states. So this plan that they've got this cooked up this plan of using these Russian frozen assets. If they go ahead with this, they're basically going to stick the bill onto the European taxpayers. I mean, because that bill is going to come due, and that money is going to have to be paid. And how they're going to pay it? It'll be the European taxpayers who said, "Hey, you're going to be stuck with whatever 140 billion euros, 200 billion. Nobody knows exactly the sum, but that's how it's going to." So all these people, they're essentially sticking European taxpayers with this bill. So impose a common debt, seize more power, stripping competences from the member states. The arms industry wants war for profit. Meanwhile, powerful lobbies want to exploit war to expand their influence. In the end, everyone is trying to cook their own meal on this fire. Our position is clear. Hungary will continue to stand for peace and sovereignty.
I like that phrase. Everyone is trying to cook their own meal on this fire. That's a good one. That's a
That's
good
good,
one.
yes. And then he said again, Brussels has chosen a strategy of wearing Russia down through endless war. This means pouring billions into Ukraine, sacrificing Europe's economy, and sending hundreds of thousands to die at the front. Hungary rejects this. Europe must negotiate for peace, not pursue endless war. And then he says another tweet out, Copenhagen day two, the situation is serious. Outright pro war proposals are on the table. They want to hand over EU funds to Ukraine. They're trying to accelerate. I think he means, I don't know what he's referring to, but I mean, there's the Russia funds. The Hungary, they already handed over the interest that was earned on those frozen assets. So the first thing they did is that they handed this money over to the Peace Implementation Council, and then the Peace Implementation Council handed this money over to Ukraine to purchase weapons. Each time they did this, Hungary objected, but they did it by majority voting. So they said, "Oh, well, we don't need unanimity." So those two steps: first, transfer this interest money to the Peace Implementation Council. Oh, we're going to use majority rule, so we're going to ignore Hungary. And then this next step, handing this money over to Ukraine to purchase weapons, we're going to ignore Hungary again. So that's I mean the problem with that was that the money wasn't huge. It was only 3 billion. Ukraine went through 3 billion in a matter of days. I mean so that's out. So that's why they now want to get their hands on the principle. So this is the EU funds, handing over EU funds. But essentially, if they hand over Russian funds, the EU is going to have to foot the bill. That somebody's going to have to pay for that money back. It's just the way it is. Uh,
Like George, I didn't, go deep into detail about this meeting in Copenhagen because it just seems like the same kind of cocktail party as usual. Nothing can surprise me because nothing intellectually interesting ever comes from it. But what I do like, particularly about this tweet here, is that, of course, I'm sure George experienced the same thing. CNN, FT, Deutsche Welle, all blah blah blah, blah and we'll have the drone wall and all it. And then you read one tweet, two short paragraphs, and you know what happened during the meeting. You never get that from the rest of the
no,
media.
no,
They never tell you anything that he
no.
just wrote here. But he was in the room. This is actually what happened,
Right,
everyone.
right,
Again, this shows the fraud of this pliant media
right.
in service of power. And these two short paragraphs, okay, that's all I need to know. Thanks, Victor.
That's They want to hand over EU funds to Ukraine. They're trying to accelerate Ukraine's accession with all kinds of legal tricks. Yeah, so this legal trick is they're going to begin this accession process. I mean, it's clear the EU treaty says there has to be unanimity on agreeing to accept a new member. So they've now come up with a new trick. Well, we can begin the accession process. We don't need unanimity for that. They just made this stuff up. It's a completely new legal theory. We don't need it. So that's the beginning of the accession process. So we don't need Hungary's agreement at that stage. And then at the end of the process, keep our fingers crossed, Orban will be long gone, and we'll have a pliant government in Budapest, and then we'll get Ukraine in. So that's the legal trick.
This is the true meaning of the ridiculous phrase rules-based order. See, this is something George and I have observed from the very, very beginning, is that for all their highfalutin self-importance and reliance on values and law and norms, they break all of their own
Right,
rules all of the time,
right,
okay? I mean, their fraud is becoming more and more obvious, but they always do this,
right.
okay?
Exactly.
And then they'll say, well, and once they're caught, oh, that was a long time ago.
Right. That's right.
Why are you bringing it up? Okay.
Yeah.
This shows just how much malice is in their
Yes.
heart.
That's right. That's exactly right. Um, they want to finance arms deliveries, and all these proposals clearly show that the Brusselians want to go to war. I will stand firmly by the Hungarian position, but this summit also proves that the coming months will be about the threat of war. We will need the support of our entire political community and of every Hungarian who longs for peace. And then again, yet another tweet. Today in Copenhagen, three big battles lie ahead. They want to declare Russia-Ukraine war as our own. They want to send even more money to Ukraine. They want to fast track Ukraine's accession, which would include stopping oil and gas from Russia. All of this goes against Hungary's interests. The pressure is strong and attacks come from all sides, but we will hold our
You know,
ground.
another thing that's really, really valuable here, because Viktor Orban is memorializing in real
Yep,
time. This is almost kind of like saying, he's giving his defense
yep,
now.
yep.
Okay.
Yes, I,
And
I think that's very important that this he is memorializing. Okay, he may be out next year, but this is part of the historical record because at some point, this war is going to come to an end, and then historians will start recording, what actually happened and who took what position then, and then there's going to be, there was going to have to be an accounting for why people pursued such a totally destructive and devastating war and who stood against it. And I think he would, I think, even if he's out of office, I think history, I think, will treat him very generously as one of the few, pretty much the only sensible voice in Europe.
when it comes to Ukraine.
Yes, yes, when it comes to Ukraine. Um, and that's that. So we can see that there is this lunacy in Europe, an attempt to wage war, an attempt to provoke a war. Very dangerous game that. We've had examples from history where people want a war, they keep thirsting for war, and they'll get it because it's very hard to stop when you're in the grip of hysteria, and this hysteria seems to be getting worse and worse in Europe. So I think it's a dangerous time.
Yeah, I mean, you you want to go down the path of war over drone events that you cannot explain. Wow. And isn't that a bit hasty, George?
Well,
Isn't that a bit rash?
right. Well, that's right. You see, their problem is that they launched this whole adventure in Ukraine by claiming Ukraine is at the front of democracy, freedom, values, what the public wasn't persuaded, by that. So they had to escalate the theory. The theory now is that we are under attack from Russia. It's not just Ukraine. We are under attack. Then, Denmark, little Denmark, nowhere near Russia. Denmark is under attack from Russia. So, well, we have to do something. We're under attack from Russia. That's why this, and Merz says the same thing, and then Macron suggests this. So that now they've got they think they're getting towards some sort of a justification for war because we are under attack from Russia. Hybrid war, but it's nonetheless a war that Russia's waging against us.
Meanwhile, using primarily American missiles and other war material, NATO forces centered in Germany are helping Ukrainians kill Russians in Russia.
Yep,
So who's under attack?
exactly.
Who's
Exactly.
under attack?
That's right. That's right.
You know,
That's right.
yeah, I see it all the time. Russia blew up a hospital in Ukraine. Well, then they show a picture of it, and again, I'm not an expert in these things, but it looks like some debris hit the hospital.
Right.
Okay. Now, those Russian missiles are pretty lame. They can't destroy a building,
Right.
okay, but they can shatter glass. Okay.
Right.
They never talk about the cities in Russia that are being attacked on a daily basis.
Mm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
They hit a refinery. Yay, yay. But they never talk about how civilians are killed. And it looks very indiscriminate. Okay.
That's right.
Um,
Right. The plan of these Europeans is to provoke the United States into getting into this war. I mean, that's the plan. They're not going to do it
That's
by
it.
themselves. They
That's
got to
the
get,
long and the short of it,
exactly.
everybody.
They want to get America in, and therefore they want to present Trump with this horrific crisis. We are under attack. Russia is attacking us. Russia's waging war against us, and they're hoping somehow to persuade Trump of this theory. Now, Trump doesn't seem very persuaded by this so far, but Trump can be rolled, and that's what they're hoping for. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean,
so.
Keith Kellogg can say some ducks died in Warsaw, Mr. President. They're dead ducks, okay?
Yeah,
This is
that's
the last straw,
that's
okay? They're
right.
killing ducks
That
now. Okay,
exactly, exactly. But that's right. That's coming.
that's coming.
Yes, that's
Well,
right.
I'm worried about the nuclear power plant in Zaporozhye. I'm really, really worried about that. Okay. And then you had Ben Wallace, the wannabe head of NATO. He's still, that guy is he's still pissed off about that.
Yes, yes.
And we must make Crimea uninhabitable. What are you talking
Right,
about?
right. Yes, yes. Yeah,
Everybody, see, this is what we call a pile-on, Okay, the little Danish lady, she got herself in the news through two news cycles. Good for you, little lady.
yeah,
Okay. She did her bit. She did her bit. Okay. But George is right. When Victor Orban he memorializes all of this, we'll understand what really was going on. At least one insider.
right.
And meanwhile, you have this little irrelevant Danish person, claiming that, her country is under existential threat from Russia,
Yes,
which,
yes,
I mean, aren't you guys worried about losing Greenland? I mean, who's attacking
yes.
Denmark?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. So, and then so you've got her, then you've got Tusk with this constant "we are at war, we're at war" with Russia. So that's the problem. There becomes a point at which the hysteria reaches a critical mass. We don't know what could trigger it. I mean, really, at this stage, one false flag attack, and boom. I mean,
Well, I mean, why don't
we're
they
going to
just,
absolutely start this war.
Tusk, why don't you get a grand army together and, march into Ukraine? I mean, if that's how you feel. If we don't fight them over there, we're going to have to fight them over here. Well, step up to the plate, dude.
Yeah, no, no,
Okay.
that's
Step up to the plate.
that's right. That's right.
Okay. Do it.
Yeah,
Do it.
exactly. It's that absolutely that's exactly. But none of them actually does it because they're actually they know perfectly well we need the United States for this. So that's what the whole thing is about. Is so to get the United States in on this, and so then so they're whipping up this hysteria, and they did get Trump. In a kind of offhand way, say, well, yeah, I mean, if you got a Russian plane, flies into NATO airspace, yeah, shoot it down. This is kind of music to their ears. Oh, nice! Now we can shoot a Russian plane down, and
Yeah,
then
yeah. Well, you can shoot him down.
and then Article 5. Uh, you know, President Trump. We did as you suggested. Now Article 5 must come into operation.
It's that level of juvenile thinking.
Yes,
That's what
yes,
we are.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Because remember security guarantee? They made us go through that for a couple of weeks, right?
Yep,
Security guarantees, security guarantees.
that's right.
Okay, never mind. That didn't work. What's next? Now, drones. Let's go for
That's
the
right.
drones.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
maybe
That's
that'll
exactly right. That's the
just
play.
stir the man in the White House. Okay,
That's right. Yes, yes.
and then nuclear blackmail. That one's coming up. They're working on that one. Okay, MI6. It's always up to the most maniacal things.
That's
Okay,
right.
no,
That's right.
that's definitely going to be in this. Okay, and to all of the last leggers, I wonder, can you update your forecast for us? Okay,
Yeah, exactly,
it's going to
exactly.
be over by Christmas.
That's right.
Well, I think the
Yeah,
Western
exactly.
Allies wanted the war to be over by Christmas, remember?
That's right. Exactly. And that's what it is. I mean, it's like, that's what happens with war. Oh, it's all going to be over very quickly. No, 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 no. These people are in for the long haul. They want this war. They like this war. Is done them a power of good. They're not going to let this go anytime soon.
Oh, George is absolutely right because what they're doing, this is really important. It's interesting when you look at the way they're framing this new narrative that, we're at war, we're being attacked. It gets further and further away from what's going on in Ukraine. And so with this narrative shift, it doesn't really matter what's
Right.
happening in Ukraine. Even if let's say they lose Odessa,
Right.
okay, it's not going to change because now what they're going to do is they have to scare the bejesus out of their own people because
Right.
so far it hasn't
Right.
worked.
That's
Because
right.
they say the Russia has liberated Donbass, and I guess the average Italian say, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yes.
Okay, because they don't know
No.
and they don't care.
No, that's absolutely right.
Okay?
That's exactly it. So that's what now, you have to do it somehow else, which is that Italy is under attack from Russia. That's that to focus the minds of Italians. You're absolutely right. They talk about Donetsk, is now fully under Russian control. And they go, okay, well, and how does that affect me? How does that affect the price of pasta? But you say Italy is under attack. Then you think, oh well, that doesn't sound good. So that's the whole point. That's why they've suddenly shifted to this. Oh, this says Russia's going to we're under attack. Germany is under attack. There's Friedrich Merz. We're under attack. We need to do something. We need to defend ourselves. So that's exactly what they're doing, and that's why this whole thing is it's going to continuing to escalate. And I don't see any way to stop this. I mean, it's like this, you're on this escalator and the escalator ride, and there doesn't seem to be any mechanism for stopping it.
I've said it before, George. I mean, I can remember when Trump came in and prominent voices, it's now we'll be seeing a de-escalation. And George and I bucked that trend and said, there's plenty of escalation up there.
Absolutely.
There's still a lot of room to go up.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
And
right.
we're experiencing it right now.
Yeah.
And what are they going to do? They're going to bring the new front into the Adriatic, where a porpoise arrives in the Adriatic Sea and lets loose a drone on Rome.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds really farcical. No, it's not. It's within the realm of possibility. Oh, a Russian submarine surfaced and let these drones out, and
Right. Exactly.
they're going to do this over and over again
Yeah.
until they get what they want. And
Exactly.
again, their client, because they're generating quote unquote intel, and they have one client, Donald Trump.
Right. Exactly. Though that's the one client, and that's the goal. They have to persuade him.
Well,
Uh,
what is happening in the meantime, everyone? I take these things at face value, but and these refueling air tankers, they're being moved around the globe. We know what's next on the agenda.
right.
Obviously, the chatter is getting deafening. Is the attack on Iran? The Europeans got to be really annoyed by that,
Right.
okay?
Right.
Because we need that for us, for our agenda here. Okay. So keep in mind, again, all of these, the forensic articles that George went through for us here, what's going on in Ukraine? They don't tell you
No,
anymore.
no, 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 that's right. None of that. No, no, no. It's all of this. It's like when you read these in the media, and and we could multiply these stories, 100 folds. The Economist has big cover stories about Russia, but it's all about how Russia is targeting us. It's not about Ukraine. It's about how Russia is targeting us. Oh, there's Russian interference in this election in the Czech Republic, and then you got the drones, and then you got this, and you got that, and so it's all of that. It's somehow, and you think, well, it's all made up. All of this is made up. I mean, there's nothing there about, well, what's going on in Ukraine. It's you've kind of created essentially something complete artificial, like a sculpture made of air. There's nothing. It's all just made of air, which is this hybrid attack that we're experiencing at the hands of
And
Russia. And
and
then
NATO is not at war with Russia.
right. Yeah, so well, look what they did in Moldova. What? You still haven't come up, show me any evidence of what they did in Moldova. Oh, look what they're doing now in the Czech Republic. And then here's Viktor Orban, and it all hangs together. That all it's everything is all being done by Russia, and that's the Economist.
Yeah, and George, again, um, those of people that follow us and people like us, we all know that Russiagate was a complete farce. It
Right.
was a complete hoax, and it was.
Yes.
But the specter of Russia
Yes.
as a threat,
Right.
they succeeded
They succeeded,
amazingly.
and that's why
They
even when it
succeeded.
comes to the Russiagate hoax, they've kind of dropped the part. Okay, well, we'll drop the part about the collusion with Trump, but it's been proven that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. Proven how? When? Who
Not
proved?
one shred of evidence, but
None, none.
the verdict has been out. It's
That's right.
out.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is mass elite
Right.
delusion.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And you have more of a pulse on it than I do, but Europeans, the general population is fed this, and I don't, they're not bestirred by it.
No, no. It's just exactly. Just it isn't working, and you can tell because where is the pro-war politician who is prevailing in the polls? This guy he wants to get really tough with Russia, and he's winning a big election. Nope, nowhere. When they got this Czech election, the Czech Republic again. The guy who's going to win is someone who doesn't seem particularly excited by this war. So again,
And it
I've got the
probably
same problem.
reflects public opinion.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the Czech Republic. I mean, the Czechs, we know the Czechs really don't like the Russians. And so that's in the Czech Republic that the person who's going to win is not an enthusiast for the war.
Well, I mean, with the exception of Serbia, and there are even smaller exception, Slovakia, but where is a pro-Russian politician? Where is a pro-Russia
There
party?
isn't. It doesn't
They
exist.
don't
They
exist.
don't exist. They don't exist. Uh,
I can remember during the conflict in 2008 in South Ossetia and Georgia, and watching Al Jazeera parachuted somebody in, and then CNN, and they're always talking about these pro-Russian forces. And then I remember saying on air, I said, there is no such thing in Georgia. Nobody's pro-Russia in Georgia.
no, that's right. That's
There
right.
are people that are not anti-Russia. Now that's a different question.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. Exactly.
So that this is again, one of these meta narratives that are so detached from reality, but at the same time is very, very dangerous.
Exactly. It's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
All right. Good work, George. And again, you put a lot of effort into it. All right.
Yeah.
We've learned to hate media. Okay. But it gives us plenty to work with. All right.
Exactly.
All
Exactly.
right, everybody. This is The Goggle with Peter and George. We're on local, so please go to thegoggle.locals.com. I'm almost there. This is Friday. George
Friday.
and I reconvene twice on Sunday.
Yep.
Everybody knows what I mean about that. And we're up for a live stream.
Live stream next Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And in the meantime, we've got the problem with the dogs. As we can see, they're getting angrier and angry because they want less talk, more pay. And Buddy has already
Well, I
said
have to tell you, there's a threat of unionization in my
it's like
house.
a threat of unionization, and then they're getting very tough. As Buddy always points out, the business model of all work and no pay, it's not work. It hasn't worked in the past. It's not going to
Well,
work. Buddy always says
it's
that.
it's a dog rights violation.
Exactly. So if you have any, money lying around, coins, bills, $100 notes, that's their favorite. They like things that are $100 bills, a wad of $100 bills. Gold bullion is even better, and they're not going to deposit it into the Bank of England. They said that we're not going to the Bank of England. So anything straight into the tip jar. We're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve on the technology. And above all, we're going to keep the dogs happy for a little bit longer. It's going to be very hard. But remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.